Hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is Rick Bosley with the Bosley Home Team Real Estate Solutions at Keller Williams, and you know what time it is. It's 12:15 on Wednesday, so we are going live for our weekly Orlando Homeowner Show. So today I'm excited. We've got a returning guest, our first two-timer guest here for it, Taylor Young, who's a good friend and business partner, allied resource with us from Urban Young Insurance, and also Patrick Brazil with Stratus Roofing, because we want to answer all of your questions about the roof. Repair, replace, premiums, age, life expectancy, all of that. So if you have a question about a roof, or if you're buying, it's a big ticket item. If you're selling, it's also the same. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back. So Taylor, the first time you heard it, it gave you a really big hype when you heard that intro song. Did it give you that same energize?
Yeah, I feel like I'm coming out of the tunnel, like giving high fives.
And now, I don't know how tall are you, 6'2" from UCF. All right,
that's generous, yes.
I'm 5'7", so everyone's looking up to me. Hey, thanks for jumping on here, guys. I appreciate it. We're going to spend the next chunk of time here talking about roofs, how they apply to you. Always have to give the shout out. Jason Geller's always jumping on saying, what's up, Jason? So if you have any questions, Jason, about your house, I think bought in 2010. So you've at least been there 10 years. Maybe you're due for a roof, maybe not. So I want to talk to you guys. I'm going to start here with Patrick. There you go. You get the top spot. I want to talk to you about roofs, because give us a little bit kind of the CNN version of why people should listen to you, a little bit about your company, where you serve, how long you've been in business, so we can know who we're talking to.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Rick, for having us on here today. Stratus Roofing, we're based in Winter Garden. We service all of Central Florida, from basically Daytona, Melbourne, out to Lakeland area. So any of that vicinity, we are licensed like 21 states. We've got offices in Pensacola, Dallas, and Kansas City. So we tend to service quite a few different areas. Commercial aspects to it, we also is probably our biggest part of our business. Residential is kind of what turns and keeps the lights on. So I do sales for both residential and commercial. And what we're doing lately as far as residential side of it, it's been a busy season with all the rains. We've had a lot of calls. Now it's getting a little drier, so it's more along the lines of non-renewals for insurance people, which, Taylor's going to touch base on that. And people just getting to the end of their home where they buy and sell, like you, Rick, and the inspection comes back and says, this roof might be pretty old. You should have a roofer look at it. And so that's kind of what we're doing as far as it goes right now. There was a big solar push right up until the end of the year for solar panels, which we do, that are built into the roof. We're one of the only providers that does that. That's with GAF. That might be a different segment. And besides that, the tile side of it, we'll talk a little more on tiles, and metal roofs are hot. 3 metal roof quotes just this week.
Like sexy or on fire and popular?
Sexy, man. People, they don't mind paying extra. They want metal roofs, and they're going to pay for it. But the longevity of it is pretty cool, and the color looks great, and it's very low maintenance.
That's a head scratcher for me, because you can get a manufactured detached garage. I can go build a 40 by 40 garage for like $25,000, which is all metal, including the roof. But if I just go put the same square foot of just the roof over my house, the thing cost me $50,000 without the building. So is there just a markup value if I want a metal roof on my block house versus, what's the difference between that and a detached garage that's all metal, that's 25 cents the dollar?
The biggest one is the thickness of the metal. So you're going to pay for a 26 gauge metal on that shed. And it's not going to be standing.
You said shed, everyone. SHED.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure everyone knew this is still a PG-13 show here.
It's not like,
he just is the first one.
It won't be a standing seam. It will be basically where you can see the rivets everywhere. Where that's just not the same quality and workmanship as a 24 gauge, which is thicker, where it's standing seam, where you won't see the seams or the little rivets that stick out.
So 24 gauge is higher end. It's what you're getting in a house. 26 gauge is lower end, what you get on a shed or a detached garage there.
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
so there you go. Some good 101, because we are looking to build a detached garage. What's pretty cool is, selfishly, all these interviews is just me gaining intel from my own knowledge to grow in my house there. Let's start off with keep going here of roofing 101. So three most popular roofs you can get: shingle, tile, and metal. Pretty much those are your three options. Do you agree with that? And then within those are subcategories. Am I missing
Correct.
anything? Okay.
No, that's right.
So shingle, from at least what you see driving down the street, has to be a 9 out of 10 ratio, people getting shingle roofs. Is it still the most popular from what you're seeing? Are people still choosing to do shingle? And if so, why is that?
Definitely shingle is more quality for the dollar. You're getting good bang for your buck on a shingle roof.
Okay.
Tile roof is very expensive. Some HOAs, they make it mandatory for tile, so they don't have an option. But if it was, my house, it'd be shingled by far, and it's always architectural shingles. We won't even sell a 3-tab shingle anymore.
Okay, so
we just don't do it.
And at any point, Taylor, you've got questions, just co-interview this thing with me, because I want this to be an interaction discussion with it. What's the difference, right? So I'm average Joe, and I say, hey, this is 3-tab versus architectural. I'm going, hey, a shingle's a shingle, a shingle. Why should that make a difference to me in terms of the longevity, the durability, or the value?
So definitely the value on architectural shingle gives it that dimension on the roof where it's more aesthetic for people when they're driving by, first of all. Second of all, the warranty on it is substantial, longer and better. The 3-tab shingles are basically from your 90s, as far as early 2000s. And then they just started to shift from there. They're not, in my opinion, smaller pieces where they're going to be affected by the wind more so. Architectural shingles are bigger. It takes a lot more to pull the architectural shingles up. And it's also 6 nails per shingle. So there's a lot more that goes into it with architectural shingles for a better wind protection. That's basically why we're doing the architectural shingles. It's the warranty.
Taylor, is that showing up on insurance? Do you guys care if it's 3-tab or architectural? Is that showing up in the wind mitigation report?
Yes. And also, I was going to ask you, Patrick, you said to have this interactive. I was going to ask you, are people still doing 3-tab shingles? Because you just don't see them as much, and you answered that question. So it does indicate, Rick, whether it's 3-tab or architectural. And for the most part, those 3-tabs are, you talk about companies getting strict on roofs. With 3-tabs, they're very, very strict, and much less life expectancy in an insurance company's eyes.
What is the life expectancy? I mean, I've heard 15 years for 3-tab, 25 years for architectural. Is that the numbers that we should go by as a consumer?
So, the funny part is we're actually given a 50-year warranty on those architectural shingles. They're not going to.
Did you write that down, Taylor, for insurance? He said 50 years. So I just put them on last month. I am good until I'm in my 90s.
Florida heat and sun, they won't last that long.
Yeah.
But then we also do a 25-year workmanship warranty on them. So right now with the new architectural shingles, you could really get 25-year warranty on those shingles. So if there's a problem workmanship-wise or defect-wise, the company, not my company, but GAF, which is a very large shingle manufacturer from 1889, will back that warranty. So say we go out of business, GAF is backing that warranty. Okay. So that is really cool news. Now, acts of God, hurricanes, anything like that, Taylor would tell you, those are covered, hail. There will and could be, claims on it. But at the same time, in my opinion, even with a 25-year warranty, granule loss, you're looking at 20 to 25-year life expectancy is for the newer roofs. And the best thing we just got kind of implemented this year are these new shingles that have an unlimited wind warranty. The unlimited wind warranty is pretty awesome. Now, we don't get super huge winds here compared to, say, Melbourne and Cocoa, but it does cover anything over 130 miles per hour. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And to follow up there, Rick, in regards to that warranty, you see that a lot with insurance claims is that a lot of times the challenge or the leak or whatever it may be can come on a newer roof that shouldn't be at the end of life. And a lot of times they find that that's a workmanship issue, which is not covered by your homeowner's insurance. So it's always a conversation that when that comes up, is there a warranty? Is that, roofer still in business? I just learned something from you that warranty comes from GAF or the manufacturer of the shingles rather than that contractor that, certainly could not be doing roofing anymore. That happens a lot with 04, 05 roofs, or at least used to happen, that contractor's no longer. So you just answered that for me, Patrick. So that's a really huge deal to have that warranty, because sometimes we'll see roofs that's a 3-4-year-old roof, and it's not an end of life issue. It's a workmanship issue. And that's one of the first things insurance companies will point out, where they'll only cover maybe say the water damage interior wise, that ensued, but they're not going to cover the roof or anything that goes along with repairing or replacing it.
All right. So now, I'm thinking for myself or all the homeowners who are watching this now, they've got a roof up on the roof or shingles up on the roof. It's 4 years old. They don't know what kind of manufacturer put that on there. They don't know how they have warranty. They no longer see labels on the roof. So how does somebody go back and find out, are there shingles under warranty? And if so, by which company or which product or GAF or other? What's some advice you have there for someone who's going, hey, how do I protect myself so I do have that warranty moving forward?
Yeah, Rick, I think we were talking a little bit about permits. And if you can find the permit, if you didn't own the house, I know Orange County website's pretty good about having the permit with the builder's name on there. So you could call that builder and say, hey, I've got this house. Can you tell me what shingle you used? Is there, if the house was sold, some of those are not transferable warranties. That has come into play also. So the GAF warranty that we offer at 10 years and 25 years is transferable one time. So say the house transfers twice. Well, now you just voided the workmanship warranty on that. So those are questions that as you're buying a new house, you should really ask those questions. All right, how is the roof? Great. Do you know who put it on? Cool. Is there a warranty that can be transferred?
I love that when we list a house as well, because if we list a house and it's 13 or 14, it's getting to that age that you have to start thinking about budgeting and replacing. I just did mine. It was 17 years old, and we had a league. We said, okay, 17 years was the number for us. If and when we list a house, I'm going to go in there and we're going to find out the builder, find out the warranty, and I can put right there when we list it, say transferable warranty on a roof. That gives such a peace of mind to any prospective home buyers, which is going to increase that dollar amount that you'll get for that seller. So this is good stuff so far. And then, yes, the permits, you can often find it on the property tax appraiser's website. So I have two scenarios I'll just ask because I wasn't sure the best answer. One, I had a client call me up. She has an insurance claim, or so they say, whether it's hail or anything else. Yet it's a 3-tab. And so the insurance company is only offering to replace it with a 3-tab. And if she wants architectural, she's got to pay an additional like $4,000 or $5,000. And so her question was, is it worth it for me to go architectural and pay that premium? Or should I just keep whatever they will write it? Almost like if you wreck a Toyota, you can't trade it in for a Lexus. You're going to get the like attracts like. What advice would you guys give to this homeowner that says, yes, it's worth to do it? Or no, whatever they will replace it with. What do you guys think?
Patrick, I'll let you off.
I'd always say, listen, if you're getting a claim already approved, then you're getting a better roof for $4,000. I mean, that's the way I look at it. So you're getting a new roof for $4,000 plus your deductible. Yeah, that's better than paying full price for the new roof, anyways. That's the exact way I would take it. And not only that, I would ask for the additional warranty. So like we offer 3 warranties. A 6-year workmanship is backed by us. A 10-year is backed by GAF, and then a 25-year, which is backed by GAF. And I always recommend the middle one. I always say get the 10-year no matter what. If it's a forever home, look at the 25. If it's a flip and you really don't care, look at the 6. Because you're flipping, you want the best price.
Yep.
I said, but we're never the cheapest. If you want the cheapest, go to Joe's Roofing out of his van.
Yep.
They'll help you out.
Yep.
But besides that, I always say go with the upgrade on it and then talk about warranty.
Okay. Taylor, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I would be give you the exact same answer. I think it's worth it. You mentioned the 6 nails too. When it comes down to wind mitigation, it's just going to be a better put on roof. And then what you mentioned too, Patrick, I can't tell you, going back to the workmanship issue, how many times we see that, and it's very disappointing. So when you are selecting a roofer, to be able to do your due diligence and make sure that you do either get that warranty, and they're also a trusted roofer, because more often than not, those are the issues where insurance says, hey, this isn't covered, this is a workmanship issue. And that's at the point where we're going back to 5 minutes ago, what we're discussing. So I think a lot of that has to do when you're selecting, not only what type of roof you're putting on, but who you're going to use and what warranty select.
Yeah, so it's not about the best price. It's also, quality, not just beating the price.
Yeah, right. That's a 15, 20-year decision. So I think if you break it down like that and you make that investment, I think your problems or your successes may be correlated to that decision.
Is there a number that you would expect it would change? Let's say they're paying $1,800 a year in insurance for a 4.2 home with 3 tabs. What would it be for architectural? Would it decrease it that you're seeing, Taylor, when you're seeing that? Or you're going, oh, what kind of roof is it? Is it architectural? Drop it down. Does that come into play? Because now they've got a switch cost, right? If they're going, if it costs me an extra $500 a year, then if I'm in the house for 8 years, it pays for itself, sort of thing. What are you seeing there?
Yeah, I don't know if I could have a way to put an actual number on it, but the answer would be yes. It just would all depend on the wind mitigation and how that comes out and the rest of how the roofer puts it on. Okay. Patrick, I don't know if you had any more insight on that specifically.
Yeah, definitely get the wind mitigation on that, and that will help play a role. And then the second water barrier under the shingles is going to play a really big role starting in 2021. So that's new building code.
And we're going to go into that. I want to do a couple more, and I'm just keep going deeper because I'm learning as well. Roofing 101. I feel like we've got shingles taken care of right now. So now there's a step up. What's the benefit to me as a homeowner if I go for tile roof versus architectural roof? How many years? What's the cost? And why would it, or is it a good idea?
So what I've seen with tile is unless the HOA is making it mandatory, I would never put a tile roof on, man. Okay. It's crazy expensive. And when there's a problem and you got to go repair it, which happens all the time.
It never matches.
But it not only does it not match, it's like 3 or 4 times the cost to repair a valley on a tile roof than it is a shingle roof.
And I've seen as an agent, when you fix one tile by walking up there, you broke 4 others, right? A lot of people. So it's almost like, so you're going, tile is aesthetics. Yes, it's going to last you 40 or 50 years. Taylor, when you guys see a tile roof on a home, we know that 20 years becomes a problem child for shingle. What is a tiles roof life expectancy in terms of insurance size?
Depends on the company. 25 is kind of where it starts with some companies. Some will go back 30 to 35 years with a tile roof. But I kind of, with Patrick and Sharon, what you said, we do see challenges with tile roofs. One, because they are so expensive. So think about from an insurance company's perspective, every time there's a claim, you're dealing with an absorbent amount, and they know that. And then it also comes down to the matching issue, and it just always seems like it's never going to match because of the way that the Florida sun hits it. And so we just deal with that a lot, or that tile roof is no longer available, and a lot of that stuff. So that's kind of my experience from the insurance side.
Yes, that's interesting, because if from a roofer they say a shingle is going to be 25 years, insurance says 20. Tile roof, a roofer says 50 years, but insurance says at best 35, sometimes 25. So you still have to replace it unless for that new buyer coming through. Otherwise, you're going to have that big problem. So that's good to know as well. If you do have that shingle, would you recommend somebody who does have a tile roof that needs to replace it, say, hey, you know what, if you can replace it, let's just go shingle. It's going to be a better bang for your buck. It sounds like that's your recommendation.
So I just did one like that, and to tear off a full tile roof to put shingle, it's a nightmare. It really is, because the underlayment's not the same. The fascia is not the same. You have to tear off all these strips where the tiles were. The weight of all the tile that you have to tear off is amazing. How many dumpsters you go through. It literally was a 6-figure job.
Wow.
And it took 10 days to do it, a full on 5 days for tear off.
Okay.
So, Yeah, and I just had another guy wanted me to quote it. It was $108,000 to do it. So, it's not cheap, but he just couldn't deal with the tile always breaking and leaking and the expenses of every so years, $4,000 or $5,000 for this leak, $4,000 or $5,000 for that leak. And so he just, hey, I'm just doing it. So we did it,
All right.
But, that's where I go with tile.
And now door number 3, which you said was so hot right now, reminds me of Zoolander. Wait, what's the guy's name? The Will Ferrell character? So hot right now. I digress. Talk to me about metal. We know we want 24 gauge for the house. Why is metal a good idea if someone's looking to put metal on their roof versus shingle? What are the pros and cons?
Okay, so the standing seam 24 gauge metal is what is the basically what everyone's looking for when they call me up. If they're looking for a cheap metal roof, which is 26 gauge, where the rivets are all shown with all the screws sticking out, we won't even sell it to them just because they give so many problems down the road.
Okay.
It is quite a bit more expensive. It's about 2.5 to 3 times more expensive than shingle. My magic number is 2.6. So if I do a shingle quote, I multiply it by 2.6, and that's where I'm at from metal.
Okay.
As far as the aesthetics, man, they look really sharp. It looks really great.
Yep.
We've had 0 problems once we install a metal roof. As far as insurance-wise, I'd be curious to know myself what the metal aspects for insurance purposes go. The biggest thing I've seen why it's so hot is the look. People like the look.
Yeah.
Especially over on the coast, Melbourne, Brevard, Treasure Coast, the salt water over there. They love metal roofs over there. So that's really kind of the hot one.
Yeah, and I would also follow up on that. And I think insurance companies would like the metal roof the most as well. I think they'll go back the furthest, some even 50 years, I believe. Things are constantly changing, so don't quote me on it, no pun intended. But some will go back even further. That's how it's been. So I was going to say to that follow-up that the metal roof is definitely the most preferred roof. Also, personal story, my parents bought a house that was built in like the early 2000s, had a tile roof. I think it was in Hurricane Charlie. They dealt with debris breaking some of the tile within a hurricane. So when you think about that from a tile versus metal, if it's a similar cost, so much of some of that damage within hurricanes is just from flying debris or whatever it may be. And again, we go back to the tile cracking scenario, and I believe you wouldn't deal with that as much with metal. So I would say personally as an agent, I've dealt with very little as far as claims or workmanship issues with metal roofs. And I didn't even think of why that would be until you said that, Patrick.
Yep.
We considered metal when we did do the shingle, and a question that some family had was, can you hear it? Does it sound like you're underneath a metal roof? What effects does it have in terms of comfort of living to the homeowner? Is it insulated where they can't even hear it at all, or do you hear that pitter patter on the roof when it rains?
It's all up to what you got in the attic.
Okay.
If you've got 0 attic space, you're going to hear it more.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you've got an insulated attic, it should be very similar to.
Does the insulation?
It will always be a little bit louder.
Yeah.
But I like sleeping in that, man. So I mean, it just
as people pay good money for those apps, right?
Yeah. It does. So I mean, everyone's different.
Time is flying. You talked about 2021 building codes, a big change coming down the pipeline. So talk to us, Patrick, of what's going to be changing in the roofing world in 2021.
So the big change right now is the underlayment. So the underlayment is the part between the wood decking and the shingle. And the underlayment right now is like, I've got 3 different kinds of underlayment that are just like a synthetic. They used to call it 30-pound felt. We don't use felt anymore. It's all synthetic. So like the cheapest one is a thin underlayment called Rhino. The next one would be like a GAF Felt Buster. It's a little bit thicker. And then the top of the line is like a GAF Tiger Paw, which is really nice underlayment. Of course, it costs more. So the new code coming into 2021 says you have to have double underlayment. So you have to have 2 layers of that underlayment before you put down the shingles. Okay, so that's one version. And that's about a 5% increase in the roof.
Wow.
The next version is which is not 2 layers, does not constitute a quote unquote, and Taylor will tell you this, a water barrier, second water barrier. It does not constitute that. So the next underlayment is called a peel and stick. And a peel and stick is considered a second water barrier. And that is coming to code. So it either has to be 2 layers of underlayment or peel and stick on the roof. Peel and stick is basically, there's 2 ways to do it. One, you can put peel and stick almost like a tape over all your seams in the roof. It's time consuming. It's not as expensive as the entire roof.
Sure.
I personally am not a fan of it. I'd rather, if you're going that route, I'd rather see you put peel and stick over the entire roof. So it's about a 10% increase if you use the tape. It's a 20% increase in old prices if you use full peel and stick over the entire roof. So, and those prices are a little bit fluctuating because there's 2 kinds of peel and stick. There's your basic peel and stick, which would be used on a 10-year warranty or under, or a high-end peel and stick, which would be for a 25-year warranty. You have to use the GAF peel and stick, which costs more.
So let me break down some of those numbers real quick. If a roof costs $20,000 now, next year because of new code, add 5% for double and 20% for whole. That $20,000 roof just with the new code and underlayment is $25,000 now. Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
24, yeah.
And they're passing that forward to the consumer. Taylor, have you guys already been aware of that code, and is it going to change anything for you guys? If I just put a roof on 2 months ago, I'm hoping I'm grandfathered in. There's not going to be some drops that insurance companies will now look for. And how do we own this as a homeowner now with our existing roof?
So Patrick, to get it straight, is that going to qualify basically every roof for secondary water resistance, or is that essentially what the code is doing?
It is Miami-Dade code that is now going for the full state of Florida. That's where they're coming. That's where they're getting it from. So the second water barrier, which is the peel and stick or the tape, will qualify for a second water barrier for insurance purposes. So you will get a discount on the insurance. And the thing I tell people is get video of them installing it with the actual cover of the wrapping paper, so they see what's going on, and hold a video so that you can say to the insurance company, if they don't believe you, you say, hey, here's a video of them installing the roof with this product. Right. Give me my discount. Yeah, so and that's good.
Yeah, and so Rick, I was going to say with the codes as they change, it's not going to necessarily be penalized. There's just more benefit on that wind mitigation form. Yep. There's also a coverage built into the homeowner's insurance called ordinance or law that's optional, but most people have it, that as these codes change, if they need to replace the roof and it's a little bit more, there's coverage built in to do that. That's called ordinance or law. But, just candidly, I'm just thinking of macro homeowners insurance company having so many roof payout and claims and that getting even more expensive. So that's probably a conversation for another time, but it's fascinating.
Yeah, no, it all is interesting. So I've got a scenario here, and then we'll wrap it up. We have about 2 or 3 minutes left. We showed a house this morning, and the existing owner bought it 3 years ago. When we look at the permits, there is no permit on the roof. It's a 1996 house. It is not a 24-year-old roof, so we know at some point it was done. His hunch of what he was told was 2004 when Charlie hit with those 3 hurricanes back to back. Roofs were being thrown on without permit. So we have no idea how old this roof is. My naked eye as a trained realtor, not a trained roofer, says you've got some life left on this. How do buyers or sellers who don't know the age of the roof, how do they go about selling it and knowing age and dealing with insurance and all of that? What's the process you guys see and recommend?
Well, the big thing I see is getting boots on the roof. Getting photos, feeling for soft spots, looking at granule loss. Granule loss, you'll see black spots on the shingle. And if there's a lot of granule loss, you're apt to have leaks sooner or later. And so that's kind of the way that I look at it. And if there's not a lot of granule loss and the shingles are still pretty tight to the roof, we'll give them a thumbs up and be like, yeah, you should be good for a year,
Okay, so you'll give you froze a little bit. So you'll give that thumbs up if you say it's good. You're never going to put a number to it because you don't want to be held to that number. But you're going to say, as it stands today, This roof is in fine condition, and I would not recommend any repair or replacement of a roof. That's what you'll kind of give as of today's date.
Correct.
Taylor, when you get that and there is no permit, we don't know the true age of it, yet you get a thumbs up from a certified roofer, what does that do for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, look, in this market, it's challenging either way once it gets to a certain age, but it is very common, especially from like 04 and 05, like you mentioned in that scenario, that there wouldn't be an official permit. So it used to be that the insurance companies were a bit more lenient from that. We had one the other day. We had to refer out. It was a little bit older than the one you mentioned, but it was all about that life expectancy. In that particular insurance company that ended up writing it, what they just required was a 4-point inspection along with some sort of indication that it had at least 3 to 5 years left.
Okay.
And it's my understanding that insurance company would allow some time to go by before that was replaced, but they would likely keep a tab on it to where it's going to have to be replaced in the next few years.
So it's kind of like you're good now, but come 2022, we're calling you or dropping you. One of those two things are going to happen.
Yeah,
so
like
you
mentioned non-renewals, they may non-renew you with the caveat that you need a new roof after a couple years. And again, that just comes down to guidelines. But I think on the real estate side, about setting those expectations clear, getting that call and saying, hey, I was never aware of that is never a good one. If you're aware of it, I think people are understanding, they can plan for it and so on and so forth.
Sure. And we'll wrap it up here from a real estate standpoint. If you're thinking about selling, know the age of your roof, because as my buyers go shop, they don't necessarily care if it's 3 years old or 9 years old. To them, that's the same. It says, I'm fine. I don't have to think about it. They start caring when it becomes 14 years and older, because now they're budgeting, when do I have to replace this thing, 22, 23, how much is that going to cost me? They factor it in. So if you're thinking about selling and you have a 12-year-old roof, in 3 years, that roof becomes a little bit elderly. Right now, it's still middle-aged, right? So think about that. From a buyer standpoint, make sure you're working with an insurance company, an agent, or a roofer out there that can tell you about the roof besides it has one and not leaking. That doesn't tell us anything. So really having advocates by your side, because we help people buy houses every day. Most homeowners do it every 5 to 7 years. So let us be out there and be that advocate for you. Guys, any final thoughts here as we wrap up this? I've got at least 2.5 pages of notes, thoughts that the Orlando homeowner needs to know about you guys. I'm going to put up your name and number again, but what's some just final words of wisdom you can share?
Yeah, I would say too, Rick, we talk about roof age and life expectancy and so on and so forth. And what Patrick, the numbers he shared may be more close to what a true life expectancy is. One thing you can be confused at is what an insurance company wants to accept from their new business guidelines. So obviously, if you have an existing home, you're not selling it, there's no movement, and you're with the same insurance company, there's no thought that every single time they're going to non-renew your policy when it hits 15 years or 20 years. It is more likely, but at the same time, in this market at least, but it's new business guidelines. It's going in when you buy a new house. And your little boy looks cute, man. So that's all I got.
Yeah, they're the cameo out there. This is Bradley. Thanks for that, Patrick. So it's going, not necessarily the insurance company says it's not good anymore. They're just going, I don't want to take that bet because I know I'm going to be writing a check in the next 3 or 4 years. Patrick, final thoughts for you for wisdom as a homeowner regarding the roof.
Yeah, I would say, Rick, that call a roofer that will give a free inspection with honest advice.
Yep.
A lot of these guys will go up there, oh, you got a claim. Don't listen to them. Always, if someone says you got a claim, have someone else look at it, because it's not going to do the roofer any harm if they say, oh, you got a claim, let's go file one, and then it gets denied. Well, it doesn't hurt the roofer. It only hurts the homeowner. So if someone's buying a house, just get someone up there to say, hey, take a look at the roof, and it should be free. We inspect free. That's what I do all the time. I'll inspect it free anytime. And then if there's someone calls me up, Rick, and says, hey, just FYI, this roof's 15 years old. Can you give me a ballpark idea? Well, I can draw it up on my iPad and give you an estimate in about 5 minutes as to what an approximate cost would be on that roof, just so you have it in the back of your head.
Perfect. I love it. All right, guys. Well, that's it for today's segment. If you didn't see it live, you'll make sure you can follow us or like us on our YouTube or Facebook page. Next week, we're going to be talking about Orlando real estate, the market. We're going to look at the details, the numbers, so we know what's happening, what's trending for real estate. We'll do that every month on the second Wednesday of the month. So until then, guys, Patrick, Taylor, thank you as always, and we will see you next week. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Rick.